a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our board meeting today. I'm Sue Wilson, President of the 2021 Board of Directors. The regular meeting of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Board of Directors is audio and video recorded by the RCSC management and staff. Please be advised there's no recording of this meeting by any individual. Please take out your cellular phones and electronic devices and check them to ensure that all are put on silent mode. Our first item of business is a roll call voting by members by Secretary Lair.
Director Hoffer.
Here.
Director Westermeyer. Darla Akins.
Here.
Treasurer Rooney.
Here.
Vice President Agee.
Here.
I'm here. Director Collins.
Here.
Director Schroeder.
Yes.
And President Wilson.
Here.
Madam President, we have a quorum.
Okay, now I would like to introduce our timekeeper. Our parliamentarian could not make it today, and our management personnel. Our timekeeper is Director Rich Hofer. Our management team that are here today: Bill Cook, our general manager; Kevin McCurdy, our director of finance; Mike Whipperud, our director of buildings and infrastructure; Chris Herring, our director of operations; Brian Duthu, our Director of Golf and Grounds; JoLynn Higgins, our Communication and RCSC Marketing Coordinator; Teresa Serino, Director of Events and Entertainment, up there in the booth; and Marcia Johnson, our Corporate Executive Coordinator.
Good morning.
I also want to recognize Alan Kleinhans and Mike Crawford, who are our audio-visual engineers, and Teresa, of course, who's up there in the booth. I would like to welcome all RCSC cardholders who are attending our meeting today for the first time. I know before we move on to the minutes, our General Manager, Bill Cook, would like to make a statement.
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Directors. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to address what happened on Monday with respect to the video. I know we do not have the video for the annual membership meeting. And as soon as we found out on Monday, just after the meeting, that there was a technical glitch, we immediately went into deconstruct mode to determine what exactly happened. And what we found is that there was an SD card which actually records the video. We had a bad SD card, and then we also took a look at the equipment, and there is a potential short in the mixing board. So as everybody knows, anybody who has any technology, whether it's a phone, a television, or what have you, or if anybody who's ever seen a live video on television, you know the technology there's always a potential for issues. So what I wanted to do, and I asked Teresa Serino, our Events and Entertainment Director, to do, is to develop a rock-solid plan to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So what she did what we've done is first of all, we're having somebody come in and take a look at our equipment. But secondly, we've put in not just redundancy, but tridundancy, if that's even a word, which means that now each of the video recorders, as well as the computer up in the technology room, are all going to have SD cards. So we'll have 3 sources of video in which we can come from. So if anything goes wrong up there, then we can at least pull that camera or one of the other cameras up there that will at least have some video. We've also upgraded our audio to make sure that we now have 3 sources of audio. So if, for whatever reason, all 3 of the video goes down, we will have 3 sources of audio. So again, I want to apologize for that and to let you know that we have put things in place to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Bill. Oh, question?
We do have an audio backup. Right now, we have 2 copies of the audio, though, right?
You know what? I would defer that to Teresa. I'm not sure what we have from an audio perspective. So, Teresa, I believe the question, though, do we have audio for the annual membership meeting?
Because my question is, I heard that right now it's being put on that laptop over there,
So
and
that's,
it always is, so I'm wondering, do you have it? And we could at least put out an audio of the meeting.
Only a partial.
it's only partial. So it was not only video, but it was also audio as well.
On his computer. On his computer right there.
As of today, we've implemented all of the mitigation plan to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
That's right. The computer's there today.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
The computer's been there at every meeting this year.
I have no idea.
But we weren't,
He always makes a second copy of his own on that computer in case we lose audio, and he could dub it in and edit it.
Director Collins, I'm not sure if you're asking me if there's anything else, but I think the answer is that we do not.
You do not,
I
okay.
mean, we were completely devastated. I mean, when Teresa told me that that happened, I mean, there were tears in her eyes because we just, I mean, this isn't a conspiracy, right? It's a technical difficulty, so, okay. So
No,
thank you for your time.
I understand that, you know, and I don't want to see the RCSC management team or the board's integrity come under question due to the actions of some employees. But in the past, we've had a number of issues with poor judgment and items lost. And it all seems to come about when the members have something they want done, we're losing things or things aren't coming through. And I just think that it needs to stop yesterday. And I think an external investigation needs to be done, and I'm going to bring it forward at the first meeting next year, because something has to be corrected and something has to be done.
Well, if you're questioning my integrity,
No, I didn't say
I
that.
challenge that.
I said I do not want to see the RCSC or the board's integrity come under question. And if these issues keep happening, no one will believe any of us.
I would invite any external investigation
Thank you.
of this.
Okay, moving on. I would like to ask if there are any corrections on the minutes that were posted previously. Okay, seeing no corrections, the minutes are approved. Thank you. I would also like to ask now if there are any corrections on the treasurer's report. Okay, then the treasurer's report is filed for audit. Are there any questions on the management report?
No.
Okay, seeing no questions, then the management report has been accepted. Okay, at this time, I would like the Board of Directors-elect to come up to the front, please. Move it down. Yeah. you'll face the audience. Members of the Board of Directors, ladies and gentlemen, and directors-elect, on behalf of the RCSC Board of Directors, I congratulate you on the election by electing you, Kat Femel, Alan Levensky, John, and I'm going to hopefully say this right, Nowakowski, all right, and Karen McAdam. RCSC members have placed their trust in your leadership, expertise, and judgment, and gratefully acknowledge your willingness to accept the responsibility of conducting the affairs of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated, January 1st, 2022. As volunteers with no monetary compensation, you will be devoting much of your time to the benefit of your fellow members. The policies of the board adopts and the authority you delegate to the senior management of the corporation must not only reflect keeping all RCSC properties in superb condition, but also concern for the welfare and safety of the employees and for the quality of life of RCSC members. During your board tenure, you will be required to serve numerous, varying, and conflicting interests. Know from the start that you will never satisfy all those interests despite your best efforts. Do your best and be content, and knowing confidently that you are helping us to continue to be proud of Sun City. Directors Kat Femel, Alan Levensky, John Nowakowski, and Karen McAdam, do you pledge to uphold the Articles of Incorporation, the corporation's bylaws, and board policies to the best of your ability and to work for the benefit of our community as a whole? On behalf of all of us, I wish you success in this undertaking. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, I would also, at this time, would like Rich Hofer and Sheila Rooney to come down onto the floor, please. I am honored today to present two outgoing board members with plaques in recognition of their service to RCSC, and to acknowledge and thank appointed directors Dan Schroeder, please stand, and Director Gene Westmeyer, who unfortunately has had a family crisis, who both completed terms for 2021. Rich Hofer was elected in 2019 to a 3-year term and served as director. Rich also served as chair and co-chair of the Golf Advisory Committee, chair of the Long Range Planning and Election Committees, co-chair of Communications through Technology Committee, and served as liaison for Friends of the Library. Rich was also on the Bid and Investment Commissions. Rich, I want to thank you. You have helped me. I have worked with you now for, oh my gosh, a long time. I wish you well. This is Rich's. I'd like to present you this. Sheila Rooney was elected in 2020 to a 1-year term and served as treasurer. You took over my job. Sheila also served as chair of the Finance and Budget, Insurance and Technology Committees, and served as liaison for the Friends of the Library. Sheila, I will truly miss you. Okay, the first item of unfinished business is the approval of $3,000 to be paid to the Sun City Posse for their continued assistance with event parking and facility security in 2022. Second reading of motion 1 by Director Schroeder.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to approve the $3,000 to be paid to the Sun City Posse for their continued assistance with event parking and facility security in 2022.
A second.
Seconded by Director Akins. The motion before you is approval of the $3,000 to be paid to the Sun City Posse for the continued assistance with event parking and facility security in 2022. Ms. Johnson, do we have any cardholders who signed up to speak on this agenda item?
Some of them just poked motion number 1. And I don't know. Well, I'll just read them all. Jean Taunton, Jim McConnell, Tom McLean, Rachel Trajanovich, Herb Highland, Christy Svensson, Julie Powell, Margaret Ellingson, and Lori Ellingson.
So is there anyone on, because obviously they're both listed that way. Okay. I'm not seeing that. I think it's for the next motion.
For the next one, okay.
Okay. Okay, Director Schroeder, do you wish to speak first on this motion? Do you have anything you want to add?
Nope. Thank you.
Okay. So the motion before you is the approval of the $3,000. Secretary Lair, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Director Hoffer.
Yes.
Director Akins.
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney.
Yes.
Vice President Eggy.
Yes.
I vote yes. Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Schroeder.
Yes.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 yes and 0 no votes, so that motion passes.
Madam President,
Yes, Director Schroeder.
I would move to waive the third reading on this motion.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded by Secretary Lair. Any discussion on that? Okay. Secretary Lair, please take a roll call vote on that, please.
Director Hoffer.
Yes.
Director Akins.
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney.
Yes.
Vice President Eggy.
Yes.
I vote yes. Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Schroeder.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Final reading on that. Okay, the second item of unfinished business is the approval of the PIF budget, which will be read by Secretary Lair.
Madam President, Board of Directors, I move to approve the Preservation and Improvement Fund budget with a PIF fee at $4,000.
The motion before you is the approval of the Preservation and Improvement Fund, or known as PIF, budget with a PIF fee at $4,000. Ms. Johnson, would you please read the name of the cardholders who signed up to speak on this motion now?
One more time. Jean Taunton, Jim McConnell, Tom McLean, Rachel Trajanovich, Herb Highland, Christy Svensson, Julie Powell, Margaret Ellingson, and Lori Ellingson.
And if those people will please come up to the microphone. You will have 3 minutes. Please give your member number and your name as you speak. Secretary Lair, do you wish to speak first on this motion?
Madam President, I do not.
Okay.
Good morning, Jean Totten, 148753. They say that 2 wrongs don't make a right. Maybe we can put that argument to bed here and now. Because I don't just whine, I do have a suggestion. After the first and second reading of this motion, Mr. Hofer, Mr. Collins, and Ms. Atkins voted no. A few facts. The 2016 PIF budget had 15 placeholders, as you like to call them, Dale, with 10 of the 15 related to golf. Nowhere in that budget was the purchase of the Grand Avenue property, and while it might have been too good a deal to let pass, I would love to know what percentage of total RCSC members use that facility. The budget under scrutiny today shows Lakeview getting a new administration building in 31 and 32, and Lakeview Center totally replaced in 34 and 35, which totals about $26 million. I doubt those figures because figures aren't staying pretty strong in this time and date. Your placeholder for Mountain View was 17.5 million, and it's turned into 45 to 50. My suggestion, look across the street from Lakeview Recreation Center, and you'll find there is a huge office building for lease. It has 45,422 square feet that rent for $28.50 a year. That's without one of you haggling a little. Think of the possibilities. The entire administrative staff could move over there. Lakeview could then be demolished, and a standalone theater could be erected in its place, taking advantage of the slope because you wanted seats on a slope. There's plenty of parking. During a play, you could use golf carts to shuttle people back and forth if necessary. Get rid of the grass out front in Lakeview. After all, we need to be good stewards for water conservation. I was told by several people that the tennis courts are locked and not used, and I believe there's a vacant car club building over there. The possibilities are endless, and that would leave Mountain View to become a gymnasium or fitness center, maybe jazz up the pool a little, and no stopping the other activities that are going to stop for 10 years while you construct. Let's start fresh. Query the members. Don't blow the budget on one center. And just so that you know, there is a partial video of the board meeting from Monday on Nextdoor and several Facebook groups.
Good morning. Tom McLean, member number 100211, resident since 2006. First of all, I'd like to say I don't agree with Ms. Totten about tearing down Lakeview. I think it's a beautiful place, and I think it ought to be kept, renovated. I like walking around there with my kids. Now, I'd like to talk about increasing the PIF to $4,000. I don't think there's any financial justification to do this. $3,500 right now, even though I don't agree with that, seems to be more than adequate. You have $27 million in your PIF fund right now. The year before, you had $20 million. You made a $7 million net profit over a year. I don't see that changing. So over a 10-year period, you're going to gain another $70 million in your PIF net profit. Therefore, with 27 plus 70, you come up with $97 million and possibly a little bit more if we have a downturn in the economy, because you guys are able to foreclose on properties and gain the PIF 3 times on a home that sells in 1 year. They sell 3 times. I remember that happening in 2008. You guys made a killing on the PIF. The other thing, I'm not going to talk about the specific items in the PIF because I think a lot of them are just eyewash. That's my personal opinion. But financially, I don't see any reason to increase it. And I think your staff can figure out some very creative financial ways to stay in budget. But I've noticed here, we do sole source contracts. I can't believe corporations or a membership organization would do sole source contracts. Every organization I ever belonged to, such as General Dynamics, SAIC, CSC, other organizations like that, that even sometimes the federal government, we never did sole source because we were prohibited either by members or by law. For you to do that is highly unconscionable and downright unethical. You better start bidding contracts. I'll give you an example. You didn't bid it on the sundial when you were going to rip it down. You came out with a bid of $50,000 from one contractor until a bunch of us howled about it, and then it dropped to $35,000. Look it up. Any questions? I'm going to go on record again. I oppose it because it's financially irresponsible. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, I'm Jim McConnell, 47962. My wife and I are 17-year residents of Sun City. We are both involved in numerous performing arts groups, and my interest here today is specifically that portion of the budget that addresses Mountain View and, of course, the Performing Arts Center that would be part of it. The $45 to $50 million, some people call placeholder, some people call actual fact, or whatever, that this would be involved in the renovation of Mountain View is not for a facility, as I've often heard it mentioned in this type of meeting. It includes demolition, planning, architectural fees. It includes permitting. It includes the time of the staff, and then construction. If we were to build this on a blank piece of land, those costs would vary. But we don't have that. We have a piece of property that is surrounded by residential, and it is therefore binding and cost affecting. The Mountain View project has followed a very appropriate path. In 2015, the predecessors of this board put this on the long-range plan to be completed in 2020. Since that time, there have been roofs over pools that have collapsed. There have been lawsuits. There have been other issues that have arisen and needed to be attended to in the meantime. Long-range planning then held public meetings in 2018. And in 2019 forwarded to this board a recommendation regarding what a Mountain View renovation should contain. The board debated, decided, and passed along to staff the task of beginning the planning process, and that involved expenditure of time and resources. Today, you're at a point as a board where you have a choice. You can either continue this process toward a timely resolution, or you can kick the can down the road to the next board. I thank the board members that are going off, but you don't go off till the 31st of December. Let's get it done today. Let's not miss the chance to move this project along. Thank you.
Christy Swanson, number 137489. I think 41, no. Madam Chair and Board, Santa sent me. I thought I would, because somebody mentioned that earlier. Okay, I am not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but I have something new to say to you. My primary objection to the budget is its superfluousness. Now, I don't even know if that's a word, but what I wish to say is passing that motion now places huge responsibility on the future board to either undo or carry out, or carry through, I should say. Please don't burden our future board, because we're all here together and we don't need a $100 million budget staring us down, staring us in the eye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Board. My name is Herbert Highland, 114333, and I'm here again to speak on behalf of the Performing Arts Center. Now, I hear a lot of applause about everything but the Performing Arts Center. Let me give you a little history lesson. Performing arts has existed in our civilization for approximately 5,000 to 6,000 years. I don't think golf quite has that history. I don't think some other things. Now, jewelry does. I worked on jewelry too. But there are a lot of things. Everything has postponed the Performing Arts Theater in Sun City year after year after year. So the other part of the history lesson is, does anybody know where the existing theater came from? I do. It came from a roller rink. It was reconstructed in the 1970s. It's full of asbestos. There's a lot of issues. It is old. We are competing with other theaters in the valley just to give people entertainment. I know people who say they golf, tennis, you can name them all. You have the sports, you enjoy the sports. I enjoy playing golf too. But I'm finding that everything is geared towards sports, sports, sports. That's a difficult thing for me to swallow because obviously my sports days are limited. I just want to say, it's important to laugh, it's important to smile, and people live longer because of entertainment. Now, I know everybody enjoys watching their TV. If you didn't have a TV, you would have less entertainment. What you're doing is you're saying, postpone, postpone, the budget's too much. Is it too much for people who have stayed inside for almost 2 years? Our sales of tickets just for the theater group have gone to half for season tickets, over half. That's a statement, and it's both inside Sun City and outside Sun City. So we are influencing Peoria and Glendale, who are future Sun City residents. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Rachel Tronovich, member number 157646. And I'm just here to ask for some clarification on the request to increase the PIF buy-in. Directors Hofer and Collins made it very clear from the get-go that they felt this needed better support in order to gain their vote and have consistently voted no against passing this motion since then. Director Akins has commented in the past her support for increasing the PIF, yet voted no on the motion on prior readings. And I was wondering if you can allow Director Atkins to share her rationale for voting no, as she may have compelling information of why this motion should not pass, and maybe the reason for her discrepancy between her comments and her vote. Thank you.
Thank you. She can do that if she chooses when it's time for the board to discuss it.
Okay. Thank you.
Julie Powell, 19808. And we bought 23 years ago and have been through a lot here. Why are you going to have the third reading and a vote before the Long Range Planning Committee's meeting after this meeting? I think it's backwards once again. We need to know they were going to do figures on utilization, right? And everything. So I don't understand that. I'd like to see this motion be postponed for the new board. I think they have some input that we haven't gotten yet. And even as a placeholder, there's no reason it can't be held over for another reading. If the 4,000 PIF is approved, when will it go into effect? Has that been decided? January 1st? What about homes that are currently in escrow?
No, it would be whatever's on the title. Whatever.
You better.
Okay. If you are choosing to have him answer, we're on our time, but go ahead.
Madam President, directors. So I would have to check. I don't want to give bad information, but if something is going into escrow this year and it's on the title, once the title creates the paperwork, whatever PIF that is in place at the time that the title paperwork is complete will be on that paperwork, and that will be applied to that.
Thank you.
That's going to cause a lot of problems without more time in between. And I'm just hopeful that this can all be changed with the new board coming in. And I will speak to not having a lectern when I come back up later.
Thank you.
Margaret Ellingson, number 9953, and I would like to donate my time to Chris Tracy. Thank you.
I missed the podium too, and we asked for it to be replaced again, but my name is Chris Tracy, 125567. I am a member and a card holder. I'd love to see us start being members again. Okay, regarding motion number 2, I want to share with you that when I was in college, working full-time, nights and weekends, I had an old rundown car, but I loved it. Bought it when I was in high school. Came time to go ahead and buy a new car. Wanted to buy it myself. Well, Dad had a little advice. He said, don't let a car salesperson pressure you, talk you into buying something more than what you need. And today, in honor of my dad, I ask you to join me in his advice and walk away from that.
Lori Ellingson, 133335. This is the third reading to pass the PIF to $4,000. Gene Westmeyer initially suggested that you increase it from $3,000 to $4,000. During that meeting, the board was asked for a second. No one seconded, so the motion died. Then, when we had the presentation of the budget, they piggybacked increasing that PIF to $4,000 onto the budget. I'm wondering what has changed, why no one would second the initial motion, and now all of a sudden the majority of you have decided to increase it. You've had several meetings to vote on this, so you have done your due diligence. You know exactly what is involved with the PIF fund. How many of you know what year the PIF fund was started? 2006. How many of you know what the PIF fund was when it originally was started?
Lori, continue with your comments instead of
In 1999, the PIF fund was started for $700. In 2004, it increased to $1,600, 56% increase. In 2005, it went up to $2,100, another 23.8% increase. In 2007, it went up to $2,500, another 16% increase. In 2009, it was $3,000. In 2015, it was $3,500. Now you want it to go up to $4,000. That's from 1999 to 2021. 22 years, the PIF fund has increased 471%. Our consumer price index inflation rate from that time period is 2.21%. total inflation rate from 99 to 2021 is 54%. 54% compared to 471%.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, before we take a roll call vote, any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, General Manager.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Board. So I just want to clarify the total number for Mountain View. I hear 40 to 50 million, but what we're proposing is 39,500,000, of which there is 12 million of that is for Phase 3 for the pickleball and all of the other things that are going into Phase 3. So I just want to make sure that we clarify that it's 39,500,000, including the Phase 3.
Okay, all right. Now, back to board discussion.
Madam President.
Hang on, Dave, you needed to sign up in order to speak, but you can speak at member comments.
Okay, good enough.
Okay.
Madam President.
Yes,
Thank you, Madam
Collins.
President. One thing I have to agree with the people out here. We are an elderly community, and there's no reason I believe we have to make them stand throughout all the comments.
We're talking about the PIF.
You're out of order.
We're talking about the PIF
Okay.
right now.
The PIF, I'm against the increase of the PIF. My question is, do we want a theater that's $15 million, or do we want a $15 million theater in a place that is going to create more costs due to the deconstruction of all the sports amenities there and then rebuild them? That was my only, I have no problem with spending the money on the theater. I just think that we could do it in a different area, and we could do it quicker, because we could have two projects going at the same time if they were not at the same location. And I just think that we need to take the time to look at that a little bit closer and to push this thing through when we have a brand-new board coming in the door next week is utterly ridiculous. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Madam President?
Yes, Director Akins?
Yes. The information that Lori shared just now was correct, that we did start the PIF in 1999, because I got the information from Jan Ed. And if you look at, let's see, there's not been an increase in the last 6 years. But if you look at the 22 years, you can figure that out. It's been like perhaps $127 a year is what it has been increased to. I mean, it has been increasing. We just found out just recently that Sun City West is going to raise their PIF. They are going to raise theirs in 3 years. Theirs will be up to $4,000 also. So what?
I'm sorry. Someone is speaking. Director Akins, do you want to continue, or are you done? Okay.
It's all right to be disrespectful to me, but.
Okay, any other comments? Director Collins?
Yes, I mean, one other thing I have to bring up, since we're bringing up Sun City West, is Sun City West. In the early 60s, they had a theater also, huge. And they bulldozed the whole thing because of declining numbers. Now, I don't think that is any bearing on ours. We don't look at them for what we do. And I just agree with the people that we're two separate entities, and our people want a theater. And like I said, I don't have a problem with a theater. Let's just try to build it using less funds from our membership. Thank you.
I would like to comment. This is not, we're not talking theater, we're talking for Performing Arts Center. Performing Arts Center does not just do play productions. It also would take in movies. It would take in any musical groups. It also would have audience and in comfortable chairs instead of the chairs that are currently there where you're dodging between heads to be able to see what's going on. So it's more than just a theater. Yes, Director
Madam
Collins.
President. You're right, you would have more comfortable chairs, but we also will be limited to, I think they said 450, where when we set up the auditorium here, we do much more than that for our concerts. As far as other things, the orchestra doesn't even play in Sun City anymore. We cannot maintain an orchestra, so we have to charge anyone who wants to play with them $3 for every time they want to practice or play. So they have moved out of Sun City, so that would have to change. The dancers, they perform here because right behind you are 2 pianos, and they would not be in this performing arts theater, which means the dancers are going to remain here. Meetings, yes, we could fit our meetings in this new performing arts theater, but don't try to put all these things in there that are not really the part of the issue. The issue here is just, can we build it, give them the same exact quality they want, but save money? That's the only issue. As far as the cost of it, that's not a problem, but we can do it in a more cost-effective manner. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing no other comments, Secretary Lair, please take a roll call.
Director Schroeder.
Yes.
Director Collins.
No.
I vote yes. Vice President Agee.
Yes.
Secretary or Treasurer Rooney.
Yes.
Director Akins.
Yes.
Director Hoffer.
Yes.
Madam President, 6 yes, 1 no.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, at this time, if there is a new item for new business as from the Board of Directors, I would like to bring up one.
I have one.
Okay. I believe what we need to do, and I'm making a motion on this, is that we, in the next year, we form an ad hoc committee that will go through our bylaws to make sure that there are no conflicts with our articles of incorporation. And this ad hoc committee would also look at the agenda items that were brought up at the membership meeting to give us feedback on them.
I would second that motion.
Seconded by Secretary Lair. Any discussion?
Yes,
Director
Madam
Hofer.
President,
Yes.
I would hope that during that, we had a lady that spoke at the annual meeting, I thought did a very nice job, and tall blonde lady, and asked that it be a combination of board members and members, and I think that would be a good idea.
And that is exactly what I would say.
Madam President, usually when we do an ad hoc committee, it is that we do include members because we
Yes.
want everybody's perception on stuff.
Yes. Any other comments on that? Okay, then Secretary Lair, you'll take a roll call.
Director Hoffer.
Yes.
Director Akins.
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney.
Absolutely, yes.
Vice President Agee.
Yes.
I vote yes. Director Collins. Director Collins.
I'll vote yes.
Director Schrader.
Yes.
Madam President, 7-4, none against.
7-0. Okay, that passes the first reading. Yes, Director Collins, you had something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, no, not on that motion, not on that. Is it just our board comments now?
No.
No, we're not on board comments.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to member comments. Marcia, do we have anyone signed up?
Theodore Martin and Paula Sandoval.
And when you come up, please give your member number and your name. You'll have 3 minutes as indicated by the light. We ask that we're limited to 2 times. Thank you.
Paula Sandoval, 142580. Regarding the PIF, or as realtors call it, which I am a realtor, we call it capital improvement fee. There is no way we can be in the middle of an escrow and say, oh, by the way, the fee has been increased. We need a date when it will be effective. Thank you.
Theodore Martin, 146125. I don't have any idea why my name was called.
Oh, you must have signed in.
Sign the sheet.
Okay, all right. I thought that was an attendance sheet.
No. Thank you. Okay, at this time, our floor is open. Please come up. Again, state your name and number, and you will have 3 minutes as indicated, and limit to 2 times. Yes.
Hi, my name is Farrell Ford. My number is 129366. A couple of issues I'd like to talk to. First of all, Ms. Akins, you owe this entire membership an apology for your outburst at the end. It was rude. If you can't, I sent a letter to all of you last night. I don't know if you read it, but I hope you do. Secondly, in terms of Mountain View, you know, when I moved here, I was approved for a $500,000 mortgage on a home. Just because I can afford it doesn't mean I should do it. And I really think you need to look about downscaling. My last comment is to the board. You have a lot of work to do, and it has to do with more than bylaws, etc. I think we've all heard at some point in our life that perception is reality. And whether it was a technical glitch or whatever, I can tell you just by reading Facebook and other areas that yesterday's glitch on the video, the perception is that it was done on purpose because the meeting, I'm not saying it's the truth, Ms. Wilson, I'm saying that's the perception, and you have to deal with that perception. I would tell you that most people don't read the bylaws. So the meeting of continually coming back and saying the bylaws say this, I would doubt before you came on this board, you spent a lot of time reading the bylaws.
Actually, I did.
All right, then you're the exception, okay?
I doubt it.
I did too.
I'm just saying maybe the board members, but I'm saying the general population here doesn't spend a lot of time reading the bylaws of the organization. You need, the biggest job you have to do is communication. I know that you don't want to be a dictatorship, but the perception out there needs to be dealt with, and your biggest amount of work in the beginning of the year is getting the trust of the membership back. And right now, you don't have it.
You want me to sit all the way down? I've been standing. I could keep standing. I'm shaking, but I can't stand. Thank you. Chris Tracy, member and a card holder. I'd love to see that distinction once again returned to the respect of membership. Card holder can be anybody who buys, as a renter, buys a card, as a temporary guest of somebody. We are members. Thank you. And I have a question. Did I give my number? I'm sorry. 125567. My question is for you, Ms. Lair. You were, yes.
Here I am.
I'm looking for that nice page boy haircut you've got.
Well, thank you.
I admire it. Anyway, I asked you in an email the other day.
Yes.
About why the summary of the annual meeting had not been posted yet. Because you're usually super right on the next morning, usually. And you responded very courteously, which I appreciated, that you didn't know why it wasn't up there.
I didn't know why.
Well, and then I anticipated, boy, she's going to get on this, and we're going to see those summaries. It's not there yet. It gives the impression that there's a crisis management team working all of this. No video, no summary. What the heck is going on?
Well, just to follow up on that, I did the very next day go in and talk to Bill Cook about this, you know, what happened. And he filled me in on what was going on because I didn't know why it hadn't been posted.
But the summary is what I'm talking about. Your written summary.
Oh, I see. I misunderstood. I thought it was all about the video.
No, I specifically
I'm so sorry.
said the summary.
Okay.
So did you compose your typical wonderful summary? And was it just neglected to be posted, or are you still working on it?
Well, let me just say, this is an extremely busy week.
Yeah.
We had our meeting. I had to be at the Lakeview at 7:30 in the morning. I was there all day till 5:30 in the evening for elections. You know, I had yesterday. And I have a lot of personal things going in my life, so I'm running in all directions trying to handle my personal crisis.
Yes, ma'am.
So that might not be sufficient, but
so you're saying out of
I'm doing the best I can.
Hey, most of us are.
I'm doing the best I can.
Most of us are.
Yeah.
My dad had a stroke last week. My mother died in November. We all have life circumstances.
Right.
I thought it was odd that you, who typically were so punctual in providing us with that summary, indicated to me, in error apparently,
yes, I thought it was
you had
about the
already
video.
done it and you didn't know why it wasn't posted. And now you're saying because of your life circumstances, you still haven't had it. It's very disappointing. People were expecting that, and it ties into this whole lack of trust and suspicion of crisis management done very poorly.
I apologize that you know, didn't get that.
No, well,
Sorry.
I am complimenting your usual performance and the fact that you replied. But I want to know when the summary is going to be up.
Not yet. No.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hi, Dave.
Nobody listens to me anyway, Bill. Well, I'm about to talk on a done deal, and it's the PIF.
Name and number.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dave Whelan, 17077. I'm here to talk about the PIF, which is a done deal on the increase. It was totally unnecessary, and this is the third time I'm saying it. I said it in Budget and Finance. I said it at the last meeting I attended, and here I am again. It's totally unnecessary because the increase is based on numbers that are not accurate, and that's houses sold and basically transfers of property, which we would collect PIF on. They've been using the same number for since Obama was president, and in actuality, the property transfers and the like were actually 50% higher than the 1750 or more or less that they're based this on. Consequently, it's totally unnecessary. You're collecting money hand over fist. There will be a new generation moving in the next few years, and there's just no reason to raise it because it's adequate the way it is. I know Director Hoffer and I, when I was on the board, the last time they raised the PIF, we had some, shall we say, interesting discussions there, Rich, concerning the increase, and it's pretty much the same as it is now. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Hey, I had a minute, 15 seconds left.
Tom McLean, member 100211, resident since 2016. going to talk about the perception of your lack of clarity, your lack of honesty, and your lack of integrity. I said perception. And I'm going to give you specifics. Monday, you locked the doors. Somebody made an excuse about why that happened. A lot of us still aren't really sure of the reason. 2, the videotape. 3, now the summary. 4, let's go in the past. Viewpoint Lake lawsuit. This board spent $40,000 fighting the Viewpoint Lake homeowners over a covenant and code restriction DDR. Lost. You lost us $40,000 trying to say you weren't going to maintain Viewpoint Lake. Sundial roof caved in because this board didn't make sure the dehumidifiers were operational. Then when the roof caved, nearly killed 3 employees. Then you said you weren't going to take use of the $4.5 million in insurance settlement because, well, you didn't think you could. Then you were forced to look into it, and the insurance company did pay it. Next, Sundial. The Sundial, the 3rd largest sundial of its type in the world. Janek was going to tear it out. We rose up as members, fought you over it, and got it renovated. Quail Run Golf Course. Janek wanted to turn it into a dog run in violation of the DDRs over in Quail Run. One of the homeowners walked in with their deed and said, guess what? You can't do that. Her excuse was, oh, gee, I didn't know. The solar panel arrays all over the city, they're obsolete now. Instead of leasing them, you guys bought them. So now we got a pig and a poke. The only thing you're really good for is protecting cars against sun. Removal of 4 board members in the last 15 years. Maybe it was justified, maybe not, but it looks bad. The Automotive Club, and you stonewalled them for a long time till you finally placated them. Club charity tax. That was interesting on Monday when I heard about that. Clubs here, when they give to a charity, you tax them the amount they give to the charity. What is that? If I had a general manager that was doing those kind of things, I would have fired him a long time ago. The companies I work with would never have put up with that kind of incompetence. I hope you don't have that same problem here. Thank you.
Madam President, may I speak on the summary?
Hold on just a minute, Julie.
Can I
Yes.
speak on the summary?
Yes.
Okay, I'm the one that does the summary, okay? We have never had an annual meeting since 2009, and I haven't been here, when we have had one. I did not think a summary should be done because I didn't know there was supposed to be a summary, and that's why there wasn't one done. I will do it, and it will be posted. Thank you.
Julie Powell, 19808. The podium, the lectern, we need it back. And standing in line, if I pass out, just pick me up and put me in a chair because I don't do well standing in one place. So please, new board, fix that. I sent a couple of emails over the past week to the board. If an email is sent to the board office, do each of you get a copy of it? I didn't hear from anyone until finally somebody from management wrote to me. And I found out the reason that we don't have we called it a podium, but it's actually just a lectern, was because our new parliamentarian suggested it. So if she's suggesting it, overrule it, let's get the podium back, please. And stop this line standing. Since Chris Herring is here, and in the budget, it's the finishing of that big blank space in Grand, has it been decided what it's going to be used for?
Yes.
Madam President, Board of Directors, Ms. Powell, yes, we have decided how that space will be used. We will be combining 2 quilting clubs, one from Bell Center, one from Lakeview Center, and we'll be moving them into that space at Grand Avenue. And we do have initial design work from the club that we'll be finishing up this month to get to the architect to do their design documents for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And again, welcome to the new board people. Goodbye to the ones that are leaving. And let's have a better year next year.
Thank you.
Mike Wendell, 145206. I'm here to just speak quickly to the video that does not exist. I have over 40 years of IT experience. I worked in the tri-state area around New York when the 9/11 happened, and I was very involved in all kinds of backup recovery and failover solutions and so forth. And we had several clients, major clients, financial, that survived because they had other facilities, they had backup procedures in place, and there were a lot that didn't. The big problem they found out was they never thought about the people. They got their systems back up, but they had nowhere to put the people. And that became the scurrying problem for those that survived technically the failover. Mr. Cook stated that you've implemented a triple redundancies plan going forward, and that's very good, and it's a very good start for future. However, there are data recovery services for SD cards, for disk drives, and for all kinds of things. And I would much more feel much better if an independent data recovery outfit were to come in and explain what could be recovered and what might not be recovered. I've been involved in that. I've done disk recoveries for families. I actually run mirrored disks in my home to back up my most critical data, just for that purpose. Because I've had two sisters on different occasions lost their laptops. I managed to get all their photos back and all the stuff they lost. There is an option there to go, and I suggest that you go out and you go to a professional recovery. And the manufacturers of the SD cards have services. The major disk manufacturers have services. It may cost a little bit, but it'll go a lot farther than oops. And that's my major concern. So I hope that something can be done better than just mitigation against future failures. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Board. My name is Celeste Highland, 114334. I would like to thank board members who are volunteers for all their work. It isn't often that people understand that there are a lot of documents you have to read to prepare for the meeting. There is a transition in the board every few years when you have a resignation, retirement, or election of new board members. But I believe that it is important to track our growth and progress and to be proactive on creating a community that is futuristic in its thinking. In that respect, I'd like to say that the Performing Arts Center, Mr. Collins and everyone else on the board, will be a facility that will encompass all of the wonderful performing arts clubs that we have. And my question here is, how many people here presently this morning are members of either vocal groups, instrumental groups, performing arts, theater groups? How many people would they care to raise their hand just so I know what the group is that we're talking to? There are not very many people here representing that issue. So therefore, I think it kind of colors the tone of the conversation. But I know in newer communities, one of the first facilities they are putting in, and I'm talking about 55-plus communities, is a performing arts center. We are behind the times in that. We want our people who come to see our events that uplift our spirits, make us feel better, make us forget our problems, to sit in comfortable seating, to enjoy the facility. Now, I'm a member of the theater group, but I am confident that the dancers and all of the instrumentalists, even the orchestra, I don't know if we can get it back. The problem is, in an orchestra, you have flutists. You may not have that oboist in Sun City. You have to draw upon other artists to create your orchestra. And that becomes problematic in some instances because they're very specific skills. It's almost like you have to have a visa to be able to be in that performance arts in Sun City because you maybe live in Sun City West or something. So that's a whole different venue. But I would like to just say that this center could bring a whole new life and a wonderful feeling of joy and appreciation, help people go to a different place in their mind when they're having to deal with hardship or whatever, and just bring joy. I mean, our last production, we sold out in Sweet Surrender. We're anticipating sellouts in our other performances, but we know there are other groups, like the Women's Chorus, who will have a sellout. And so I just want to tell you, thank you very much for considering, and please don't kick the can down the road anymore. Thank you. Our community deserves a new theater.
Lori Ellingson, 133335. I gave you stats on the PIF, and now I'm going to give stats on the property assessment. 1964, property assessment was $12. 1966, it increased by 67% to $20. 1992 was the first year that they changed it from per person to per property. Then they went back in 96 to per person. In 2003, they decided, let's do per property. So my stats now are from 2003, which was $300. Now, 19 years later, we have a 65% increase. 65%, from 300 to 496. Consumer price index for that length of time is $2.21%. Consumer price index, 2.21% in 19 years. Our assessment fee, 65% increase. How can you make a decision to increase the PIF and continue to increase the assessment based on those statistics? You have the data. You have the information. We're not asking you to vote on common sense. We're asking you to vote on reality. We're asking you to vote on core inflation averaged 1.98% per year between 1999 and 2021 versus an all consumer price index inflation rate of 2.21%. We have to stop. Just because you want more money to do a project that isn't necessary doesn't mean that you should ask for it. When doing a budget, you can either spend less or ask for more. We ask you to spend less.
Christy Swenson, number 137489. And you guys are really glad that I don't know how to use a calculator. All I want to say is we all agree that we've had a really rocky year behind us. Let's use 2021 to make a new and improved RCSC in 2022 and going forward. As Bill Pearson has said, let's go back to visit our beloved city of volunteers and retrofit Del Webb's dream to be affected by this, the original Sun City. lose the drama and heal ourselves. We need to do that for ourselves, but also for the folks who don't know what we know. I really thought it would take a lot longer to get old. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Aaron, 22036. I know this has already been mentioned today, and I hate it when people come up and keep repeating things, but I watched a number of board meetings on YouTube, and it appears that most have podiums of some sort for the speaker to put their papers on. It's hard for most of us to juggle papers and stand in front of everyone watching our 3-minute clock, let alone without the podium. I know, like I already said, I know it's already been discussed. Also, I'd like to, you could reserve like some seats on each side of the aisle where people could come up and sit in those seats when their name's called instead of having to wait in this long line sometimes. I would like to know who's responsible for getting rid of the podium and what the reasoning was, maybe with something that we haven't thought about, but does anybody have an answer for that?
It was just to move the meeting to
Take less time?
But
if you put
because
the
our
seats
meetings
up-
have been 3.5 hours, so it was to try to get it so that it was more reasonable for everyone.
Okay, but the podium I don't think is really the issue, and if you put the seats up, people wouldn't have to be walking from clear around the building for 3 minutes. It might be a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Bjork, 112560.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Susan Bjork. Yeah, you bet. I wasn't going to speak today because I'm still, as you may remember from the annual meeting, in the education phase and trying to understand what's going on with the board, unfortunately, because I haven't been paying attention. But I think what I'm seeing here today and what I've seen just in the few meetings that I have watched is the transparency. If you could just increase the transparency of the analysis that you're doing, the research you're doing, the slides, again, that you put up relative to the 496 and it not being raised for all these years and how we compare to the other communities, if you would just show the difference in the volume of the homes, people might understand, and the difference in the 7 facilities that we have in comparison to the 2. But I will say, I am for improvement because I think since my dad owned this property back in 2003, the appearance has gone down tremendously. And so I would like to see the improvement. I go to the original Sun City, and while some people might like that sign because it is the original, I kind of feel like I'm in bedrock, quite frankly. It would be nice to have a good sign that kind of represents that this is a good community to live in. So I'm not against the improvement. I can't say anything about the 4,000 versus the 3,000 because, again, I'm not educated. I haven't been here long enough, or well, I've owned long enough, I just haven't paid attention. So I'm now going to start paying attention, and I hope that you guys, the incoming board, will do a little bit better job of showing the analysis. Like, I was going to ask how many bids were put in for the Mountain View Center. It sounds like you don't go out and get bids. What is that about?
That's not true.
So I don't know. You know, again, I can't speak to that. But if there are bids, then be transparent about it and be transparent about the details around what you're doing so that people can understand that you are doing the best for the community. And if there are comments, take them under advisement and get back to the people. It sounds like there's a communication issue. Again, I'm an outsider just now coming in, but this is kind of what I see. And again, I wasn't going to speak, but I think it was worthwhile to come up, especially when a new board is coming in. So thank you.
Greg Eisert, 107-258. Welcome, outsider. That's what keeps things going, new people, right? To comment on the PIF, it's a little redundant at this stage, although, oh, where's Tom? Yeah. Anyway, we don't always agree on things, but I do agree with him on that. But I just had to come up when the young lady was speaking about the annual fee, the $496 or $7, whatever it is, and it hasn't increased in quite a while, quite frankly. I've been on the Finance Committee for, I think, 3-4 years, and it hasn't increased. But beyond that, we are the lowest fee, have the lowest fee with the most amenities in the country. Sun City, by far, regardless of the PIF, is the best value in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean Totten, 148753. Congratulations to the winners. Good luck to the departing board members. I have a paper here from Mr. Cook. I also went online, got a floor plan of the building across the street from the lakeside. I'm not against a theater. I'm all for a theater. I just don't think that you have to demolish a building to put one up and get it going. And you're going to demolish Lakeview in 2034 and 35 anyway. Move it up. Do it now. Do the steps I mentioned. Lease the building across the street. It's a lot cheaper, perhaps, if I did my math right. When you introduce a new motion like you did this morning, Mr. President, I don't understand why we don't get a chance to speak like we do normally when it's on the agenda.
It was a new motion brought up. It didn't pass 3 readings, so you will have a chance to speak on it at the very next board meeting.
That's true. Thank you. Mr. Hofer, Mr. Schroeder, and Ms. Rooney, just think, when President Wilson lowers the gavel, you're all going to become members, just like us, sitting out here on the floor. Just members. That until some changes are made, because the membership is what should be the most important. Your voices won't be heard. You'll be like us. Welcome to anonymity. And one parting thought. We've awakened a sleeping giant, and I was so happy to see the parking lot and this building filled with members. I've been hearing from members, don't stop being involved. Get out there. For too long, there's only been 10 and 20 people at a meeting. This is our chance. This is our community. Let's take it back.
Yes, Brent Dickens, 150445. Just a suggestion. I heard a few people come up here and talk about standing in line, and they'd like to come up with a better solution maybe for that you guys might be able to work with. It just popped into my mind that, well, I've been to Pizza Hut over here, and they've got a pretty good idea that might work here. It's up to you folks, but they have a monitor. So when you walk in the door, usually it's carry out because you can't eat there, but you place your order online, you show up, you walk through the door, and your name's on a monitor. Just a suggestion. And you see everybody's name on there, and it says if your pizza's ready or not ready, so you don't have to bug them. But maybe something like that could work here. You could have a little monitor. People that want to speak come up and talk to somebody maybe further down as you have employees, or I don't know the proper name, but maybe they can give their name and go back and sit down. And as they see their name getting closer to the top, perhaps they can come up here and speak without standing. It's just a thought, just an idea.
Thank you.
Maybe it'd help.
Bill Pearson, 133438. I wasn't going to speak either, but there's been a lot of discussion today, and I think tragically we don't do a very good job of teaching the history of this community. I would argue with anybody that 1999 was the most significant action by any board ever when they passed the PIF. I would hope no one in this room thinks, other than my good friend Tom, thinks that the PIF is something that shouldn't be there, because without it, this community would be ratty, to say the least. So the PIF has been played an incredibly important role in the revitalization of Sun City as being the place to retire to. Secondly, in 1976, when the Bell Rec Center opened, there was supposed to be a theater on the grounds. In fact, right where the farmers market is. Meeker's dream was to have a very, very nice theater there, and then when he went $2 million over budget, the plans for the theater were scrapped. And consequently, we've been battling to get a theater in this community for a very long time. I know Jim is here, and I know a lot of the people that are involved with the theater group, and I understand their angst because it's gone on far too long. That said, the cost of a theater with no real accounting, at some point it becomes too much. And that's always been the point for most of us out here. You can't just have a blank check. You can't just say, well, it's whatever. That's not how Sun City has been run over the years. And to suddenly decide that we can just spend unlimited dollars is foolishness, because we can't. Now, I would argue again with, and I'm sure Bill and I will in the coming years, if we had not been spending $1 million to $2 million a year out of our budget for golf that was supposed to be self-sustaining, we could have a theater already. We would be up to date with our technology already. And instead of that, we've just shuffled $1 million to $2 million into golf with no accounting, no pushback from a board member ever. And now we're well behind the curve. And that's why some of us come to this microphone and say, whoa, we know you've got massive problems to fix going forward. We know what they are. We know the numbers. You can't just write blank checks for everything. Theater shouldn't go away. It should be there. It should be somewhere. But $39.725 million, if you can build it for that, can I get it in writing?
That's not
I
just
understand what it is, but can I get it in writing?
Cheryl McLean, 100212. Greg mentioned that we're the best community for the price of $496 a year. It's gone up considerably since we moved here in 2006. I'm blessed that we are not in a position that every year it goes up, it hurts us. But there are very, very many people in this community on a very fixed income. And not only is the rec center fees going up, everything's going up for them to where it's hard for them to sustain themselves in this community. And just because we're the lowest doesn't mean we have to go up. I have a feeling what he said makes it, you all think, well, because it's so low and we're the lowest, it's okay to bring the fee up for us. And that's not true, because we've got to consider every time something goes up, it hurts a lot of seniors in this community. So.
Okay, at this time, we're moving to board comments, and I would like to comment. I would like to thank everyone who donated to Santa for Seniors. We were able to give gift cards to those people who have applied for help for their annual assessments. And we have been delivering cards. The people, if you saw the gift cards, if you saw the people when you deliver, they break down in tears. They thank you because they're going to have a Merry Christmas because of the generosity of the people who have donated cards. So for those that did that, thank you. Other board comments? Director Collins?
Thank you, Madam President. I have a few questions. One of the members brought up asbestos problems in the theater that we currently have. Did we do an asbestos abatement? Are we going to have to do it?
Mike?
Well, I don't know. I know.
Madam President, Board of Directors, one of the next steps going forward on the Mountain View project in line with getting the architect under contract would be doing an asbestos survey of the things that need to come down, like the auditorium. So we know what needs to be done, and we are going to have bids for that, but we haven't initiated it. So yes, the answer is yes, there will be an asbestos survey done, and then you have to do abatement, which is a very closely controlled process, and that would be part of the costs of the construction.
And that asbestos abatement can be very costly.
Absolutely. When we did the Leather and Clay Club remodel just up at Lakeview, that one little club area, we had to spend about $25,000 on asbestos abatement in that particular area.
Okay.
But it's a known entity. It's part of the process.
So the numbers we actually have could go up significantly. We're not sure. We have to wait for.
Well, there's some factors in there that may or may not include asbestos abatement. The contractor that did the estimate says that it would be outside of their costs, but we put in owner costs, a figure that Mr. Cook put in. So yes, that kind of stuff is anticipated to be part of owner costs.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My second question, or it's a comment actually. I don't like to see the members call out individual board members, and I don't like to see board members call out individual members and criticize them in a setting like this. And I think neither one of us should do that, and I would ask that in the future, can we all try to not do that?
Other comments from Board Director Akins?
Yes.
Moving on.
Isn't finished. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I would like to say that I did apologize at the last meeting. I did do it publicly at the end of the meeting, and I do apologize again. I would also like to say that we have discussed letting people sit while they're waiting to speak. I'm sorry we haven't put it into action just yet, but that discussion has been had. And I think the lady that just spoke about the annual property assessment is mixing that up with maybe the PIF, because the PIF and the property assessment are two different things. Mm-hmm. Our annual property assessment has not been raised since 2017. And it's not going to be raised next year. It's still going to remain $496.
Right.
So that's be 5 years that has not been raised. And if you think about that, in the last 16 years since I've been here, in 2005, from 2005 to 2022, that would be an increase of $166. So it's not really outrageous when you think about that. That would approximately be about $10 a year if you break it down. And I just wanted to help clarify some of that, because we have been able to, our management team and the boards, previous boards and this board has tried to keep your annual assessment down very, very nicely, because we are trying to be considerate of our residents and trying to know that some people cannot afford all of that. And it's another reason why we have the Sun City Foundation, because we do have some residents that are struggling, and the Sun City Foundation is there to help them if they apply for it. So I would welcome anybody to apply for the Sun City Foundation if you think you are in dire straits with your finances, because the Sun City Foundation and Sun City can also help those people. Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes. Vice President Ege?
I'd like to address the lady that came up and said she's a real estate agent.
Oh, no.
And to Bill, there is a community addendum that's signed at the time the contract is executed for a home. That addendum becomes part of the contract, and it spells out the capital improvement fee, the transfer fees, So really, any property that's already under contract, it wouldn't be practical at all to try to go back and amend that addendum. So I just want to mention that I would believe that any contract that's currently in process or in escrow would not be affected. Thank you.
Okay. Director Collins?
Thank you, Madam President. I had a couple more questions. This one is concerning the membership meeting we had for the next one that we have, just a clarification. Are you a member first, or a board member first, or a rec center employee first during these meetings? If you come, shouldn't we all be allowed to register? That is my question.
Yeah, you can. Your
So
card holder.
members can, workers, members, everybody should be counted that
When
comes
it
in
comes
here.
to the workers, that is under RCSC management. That is not our decision on that.
Can I ask management, do you have an issue with workers signing up?
Madam President, Directors, Director Collins, so I know historically the position has been that if you're wearing this shirt, then you're an employee. So if you are working at the time, then this takes precedence.
Okay, and
I'm sorry, sir.
This is a board meeting.
What is your point of order?
What rule is he stating?
That is in their manage, as far as what their employees do. It is not what we follow. And hang on, Steve.
Madam President, thank you. Again, this is historical, so I'm coming in here new, so I'm taking a new set of eyes on everything that we've done. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but it's something that, my staff and I, certainly we discuss all types of things that we've historically done, and so we're looking at, those types of things as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to say to everyone that all the issues that have been brought up about problems and everything else, you have to remember it's a brand-new general manager here, and the board wasn't here when a lot of these rules were changed and put into place. So we didn't have a meeting for 14 years, so now we found a few problems, and we're going to have to try to iron them out and fix them so they don't happen in the future. And the last thing concerning the theater, we will have to adapt all new pest control issues concerning theater seating, because we have seen it all around the valley with bed bugs being the #1 concern. So that's something to think about when we go forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, I am giving our outgoing directors a chance to speak. Director Schroeder, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, Madam President.
All right. Director or Treasurer Rooney, would you like to talk?
Just a couple things I want to say. First of all, you guys are my friends and you're good colleagues, and I know how much you care. We're just people, and we're trying to do the right thing all the time, and we don't always do it, but that's what happens. It's life. Thank you guys on the board management team. Teresa, you guys are wonderful people, and I will miss you tremendously, but I'll come in once in a while. And thank you to all of the RCSC members who are out there. You're an inspiration, because what you're doing is you're enjoying your life. And that's what your life is supposed to be. Most of us are on this downhill slope, so, we need to make the best of what we have left. I just wrote a little ditty. It's tongue-in-cheek, but it's kind of fun. And if you'll just bear with me for a second, I'm going to read it to you. "'Twas the day of the meeting, and all through the room, there were those with a mask shouting, 'Why can't we Zoom?' As the directors review the budget with care, those who know less ask why we repair. We look toward the future to attract those in youth, to keep our home values for the long and the tooth. As a qualified board, we do care about all. We feel it important to make the right call. You may not agree, but you are only a few and pay the same small amount annual due. Come Wilson, come Lair, come Akins, and Mike, you need to move forward and continue the hike. Steve C. will help and continue to drive to make us all healthy, wealthy, and wise. Let's please find peace this time of year and work together in 2022. Thank you. Director Hofer.
Oh, follow that.
I want you to hit the time on me on that one, okay? Thank you. I got to follow the same rules. Okay. Before I get going, I would like to say to Treasurer Rooney, I've sat here and listened to 7 years' worth of outgoing speeches. You're the best. I do want to take a couple minutes and thank some folks. I want to thank my board members. You know, I've had the pleasure of doing this for 6.5 years, and I've met a lot of great people, people I never would have met had it not been for this, because we move in different circles. These are people from all walks of life, all intelligence levels, everything, and I've gotten to know and love each and every one of them. We're a family, truly, and the people coming onto the board, you're going to realize that very, very quickly. I'd like to thank the staff and management. You guys have been wonderful to work with, and I certainly appreciate it. Now, some of you haven't been here for as long as I have, but I'll tell you what, you've done a great job, and thank you very much for everything that you've done. I'd like to thank the people of Sun City. Back in 2014 when I ran, I maybe knew 25 people in town, that was it, and they were probably my golfing buddies. But I did promise a couple of things. I promised honesty and openness. And you saw that in me and voted me in, and I do appreciate that. I do believe I've been honest. I do believe I've been open throughout the time. I've never pulled punches. You may not like what I have to say, but it's always my feelings, and it's always what I feel to be the truth. And it always has been as long as I've sat on this board. I've got minute 20, oh boy. I've got two very important ladies I'd like to thank. The first is Jan Ferguson, little white-haired lady down here, my mother. A lot of you have gotten to know her over the years. She's tried to talk me out of running for the board, not once but twice. But when I did decide to run, she was the very first person to sign my petition. And she's been just amazing at backing me and supporting me in that time period. Thank you, Mom. I love you. The other lady is sitting right next to her, my wife, Kathy. Kathy was always the last person to sign my petition. I don't think she really wanted me to run for the board either time, but when I decided to, she backed me. She has been my rock. She's given me great advice. She has given me great support, and I do appreciate that. Board, Madam President, I got to tell you, it's been an honor to serve with you. And I wish you the best. And Madam President, now you can stick a fork in me. I'm done. I got 8 seconds.
I cannot begin to tell you how much I'm going to miss you guys.
I'm going to miss you.
I've enjoyed working with you. Our next meeting is January 10th, 2022 at the Sundial Auditorium here at 9 a.m. Immediately following this meeting, actually, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We will be holding a planning session for the presentation of the Long Range Planning Committee's capacity analysis, utilization analysis, and trending report. This session will be video recorded and open for attendance by any member who would like to stay, but no one will be allowed to comment or ask questions on the subject. There being no further business, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned. You got 5 minutes.
This is a copywritten production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.